Has does the bill address the question of the timing of taking the SBAC? Because I believe it's now in the 11th grade, and so whatever happens, if the results don't come until May or something, and whether there's a locally determined course or whether there's a bridge course, I have a hard time seeing how decisions can be made in terms of course catalog, in terms of allocation of the classrooms and teachers, how that lines up. And I don't know if that was addressed or not, but I think there's a significant issue about the timing of the results in terms of feeding into the next year, given that most high schools sign up students in January, right? Yeah. And certainly the course catalog goes to, and there's, anyway, there are a bunch of issues that involve allocation of teachers, classrooms, and so forth, and I have a hard time understanding how that would work if the information is not available until the spring.
And I think that was the basis of some of our concern, especially starting with this class that's going in next year, is how the implementation is first.
And doubly so if we're launching into this next fall, where, well, the legislature won't even act until whenever. Yeah.
Sorry, I hope not.
So I guess I think I'm really encouraged, if we were encouraging the legislature to really think about this as there's an immediate concern, and then there's a sort of longer term systems issue, and the two have to be married. It's complicated, but I hope that in dealing with the short term issues, we also think ahead, and that speaks to me of having a transition kind of a careful thinking about getting from here to there.
We've been both through our testimony, and it sounds like in my conversations with them, in meeting with legislators, trying to reemphasize there are some implementation issues just right off the bat with this legislation in terms of ramping up for next year that have to be addressed. We're not sure how it would be functional. So, Cindy, sorry.
Thank you.
My head this way.
Thank you for all of your explaining. I'm wondering if there's this is a philosophical policy bill. How is it tied to the discussion of funding? We've had this happen before, whereas we'll give you money if, and I'm wondering if this is another one of those kind of bills.
Well, definitely, are you meaning in terms of, explain more, sorry.
We've had bills that say, for the before McCleary, for the legislature to substantially increase funding for education, they want to see certain kinds of outcomes, and often accomplished in this way. So they will adopt a policy bill, and then they will say, meeting the policy, we then can give you the money to do it kind of our way, if you will. And I'm wondering if to a certain extent, that's what's happening here too. First of all, it apparently would free up some money for, where we're putting money, but it goes beyond that. It goes into, put your left foot here and put your right foot there. And I'm wondering if the education system doesn't sign on to this bill, how does that affect the discussions of funding? And if there hasn't been anything in that regard, that's wonderful.
I mean, the discussions and chime in on this part, but it have been around the trying to carve out the $30 million savings and being able to use that for other parts of the basic ed obligation around McCleary. And so I think what we've heard from legislators is this it is a priority for them to try to figure out how to realize that savings. It is one of the priorities, and not the only one. Granted, this bill is trying to do a lot of different things, but I think the added benefit of part of this bill is that it has saved them $30 million. Does that make sense? But I don't know if there's a tie to other elements of basic ed that are needed for.
And it makes a great deal of sense, but my concern is that the saving of the $30 million, whether that actually harms what we're trying to offer the students. And that would, be my major concern there. And once again, it's taking the same money and moving it around.
The area that I think we'd be most concerned about the saving money category is a collection of evidence. And certainly that's been a pain for biology, but I understand it's a useful alternative for other subjects, math and English language arts, if I'm not mistaken. So that's when we would lose. Am I correct in that?
Yes, it's removed
Okay.
from, as an alternative.
Although we'd love to get rid of it for biology. Boy, there are a bunch of things in here that I just think should be easier to negotiate. There are some things that are only gonna hold for the next year or so. What are the transition courses gonna be coming online? It's already been drafted, it's been piloted. How soon can they be brought up to?
I think it's likely an implementation issue amongst the districts, right?
Right.
Yeah,
We'd offer.
I talked to Jessica Vavros, is that her name?
Yeah,
I think it was
Vavros.
37 this year and 140 something next year. So it's getting ramped up, but not,
Do we know how many districts are doing it? I know there
sorry.
were 19 in the pilot, already.
Linda,
Linda.
sorry Linda to catch you off guard there. The question about the extent of implementation of the transition courses came up. Sorry to catch you off guard. Are you able to speak to that?
In terms of the number of districts who are planning to implement next year, do you know?
But I can find it.
Okay.
I
Well,
can email it to members.
It just seems that there's value in maintaining the cut score, the second cut score. That would be a way of dealing with the next couple of years while this is all getting worked out. I know that it's not included in the legislation, but in the alternative, the substitute bill, but I think that would be something that we should try to preserve. I think in trying to eliminate that and a bunch of other stuff in here, it's just creating lots of long-term problems that we don't want to live with. We don't want to live with the consequences of it.
So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, where do I start? I think that it's really important that we're having this discussion, and I don't know, I'm not the one sitting in those chairs down in Olympia, but it seems like, you have moments in time where you can make changes, and then those moments go past, and then if you wanna make those changes, it becomes more difficult. And to me, it seems like, Isabel, you called 2214 a multi-headed hydra. And I agree with you, I think it is, but I think it's really easy to forget that the current landscape that we're in is also a multi-headed hydra. And somebody sitting in the audience, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that AWASP and WASA and WASDA are all out of the box in support of this bill. Am I right about that? And I think, maybe we should be listening to the practitioners that actually have to implement this, and I think they're out of the box because they're recognizing that, yes, it's complicated. Peter, speaking to your concerns about timing, I don't think that they're unaware of those challenges, but the challenges of implementing the current situation are even more challenging. So let me explain what I mean. I think that, the philosophical part of this is that a lot of people are interpreting this bill as a D-Link bill, and I think it's a better link bill. I don't think it's a D-Link bill. I think it's a better link bill. And I think it's a better link bill because we have a whole bunch of pieces that have so much promise out there. We have the high school and beyond plan, we have the bridge to college courses, we have the CTE equivalency courses, but right now we don't really have a mechanism to tie all of those together in a forward-looking way. To move all kids towards career and college ready. What we have right now instead, with the 2 cut score system, and I've had trouble with this from the beginning, it's so, to me, it is like, I just can't reconcile it in my mind, like it'd have to be some kind of total cognitive disconnect. Because what's happening on the ground is that we say we want to be moving all kids towards career and college ready, but the reality is districts are spending resources, instead of trying to meet career and college ready and moving everybody closer to that, we're spending all of our discretionary resources trying to get kids to a minimum exit standard instead of a career and college ready standard. And in one fell swoop, this bill takes care of that. It says, instead of trying to get everybody to go back and do collection of evidence and take the HISP, which is to old standards, which is what the students that haven't already met standard this year's juniors who haven't already met standard and don't meet the level 3 cut score, the career and college cut score on the SBAC this year, their alternatives for next year are collection of evidence or to retake the HISP, right, or ACT prep. They're all minimum standard, backward looking, instead of being able to say, I want to tie my senior year not to meeting a minimum level 1 level for graduation, but instead looking ahead to what's my plan, how am I going to move myself one step more closer to my future. If they score a level 2 on the SBAC, bridge to college courses, if they're down in level 1, looking and saying, okay, I'm going to take a building and trades class that's aligned to algebra or geometry, moving towards that career goal. Instead, they be registered during their day, taking a collection of evidence course. So it allows us to, in one fell swoop, focus on that career and college ready for all kids. I'm so afraid that if we have 2 cut scores, we're going to be locked in. How long are we locked into a 2nd cut score at level 1, where we're spending our resources just trying to get kids to level 1 because their graduation's on the line, right? I mean, you can't, at the end of the day, when you're thinking about enrichment, high school beyond plan, linking all kids to that next step in their future, or if you're thinking about the kids that aren't going to graduate if they don't achieve level 1, where are you going to spend your resources as a district? And especially in those districts where they're really focused on graduation rates. So I think it delinks us from looking backwards and being tied to a level 1 minimum exit cut score, and it links us to looking forward to tying to kids' high school and beyond plan, and for every kid taking that next higher level of rigor. And it pulls together all these pieces that are out there in one fell swoop, and it's not more complicated than what we're living with right now. And I think that, like I said, all the practitioner groups have come out in favor of this, because they recognize that while it's complicated, it's not as complicated as what we're dealing with right now, and it puts our resources in the right spot. So we have an opportunity to get behind that, and I just don't want to miss it.
Connie, and then Cindy?
Yeah, Holly, I like a lot of what you said. I think we fear different things, and the thing that I fear is that 2nd class diploma, which is provided for in here. For kids that don't make a 3 or 4, they get a different label on their diploma. And the alternative, how they proceed is by taking a locally chosen course, which may or may not be anywhere close to being college and career ready. And we don't have any cutoff for that. We don't see any transition for that. It could be a permanent situation where that's what districts use, is the next course that is in that the student is next in line, but it may not be anywhere close to getting prepared for college and career readiness.
Right now we're linking them to level 1, which is career and college ready, right? We're spending, right, the collection of evidence or passing the SBAC, we're setting a cut score that's level 1. They're going to graduate, and we already have CAAs and CIAs diplomas.
I just feel that until the transition courses are in place, which are supposed to be college and career ready standards, then we're really setting up a situation where kids will be graduating, and there won't be really any motivation to push them. There'll be districts, I fear, that will be happy to have kids get this alternative diploma. Won't be encouraged to move on with that.
Sydney, and then Peter.
I understand, maybe, let me start over. I'm not sure I understand all of the ins and outs of why we should support this bill. I see a lot of, I have a lot of concerns have been identified, and I wasn't aware of the position that other educational organizations have taken and why. What they see in the bill as being, better to have it enacted than not have it enacted, or please take out section 3 if that's, the offending section, and then go forward. Could we, I don't know if they've actually put together statements of what they see in the bill and why they're comfortable with it. Is there a chance that staff might be able to look and see if that's available and get that for us? I mean, I'd like to know why WASDA, WASA, AWSP, what they see in the bill that I'm not seeing, or why they're not concerned about some of the things that I feel concerns about. And the number one concern that I have is doing this for seniors next year. When we have said, when we have aimed kids down this pathway, and we have said, you're doing everything, we're doing everything with you, now all of a sudden, a whole bunch of alternatives, a whole bunch of supports, at least what I see as supports, are simply gonna vanish. And this is what's gonna happen to you. And I don't know how you explain that to students and parents. I certainly could not have done that at the table I sat at last night. And I don't know how we do that. But somebody must know, because if people are comfortable with it, if organizations, are comfortable with it, they must have addressed that. So, if there's any way to